That's Nick.
And that's Joseph. And today we're here to talk about Clown in a Cornfield, the third film directed by Eli Craig, which just premiered at the 2025 South by Southwest Film Festival, where I'm perplexed at the rave reviews that it received out of that film festival. RLJE Films and Shudder are releasing it theatrically May 9th, 2025.
Do you know Eli Craig's other films?
We both saw his debut, Tucker and Dale versus Evil. Remember, we saw that at the Minneapolis St. Paul Film Festival back in 2010, which I remember quite liking. He had a follow-up film called Little Evil in 2017 with Adam Scott, which I have not seen.
What is Clown in a Cornfield about? A fading midwestern town in which Frendo the clown, a symbol of bygone success, reemerges as a terrifying scourge. What is your pull quote?
Plain in every conceivable sense of the word, Clowns in a Cornfield squanders both clowns and corn in what plays like a gory homage to R.L. Stine's teen screams.
It's corn.
It's corn.
Mine. Unfortunately, Clown in a Cornfield adds nothing new to the genre while also failing to lean into the subversive nature of the story.
Yeah, I feel like it flirts with the potential to have some subtext and then runs away screaming.
So I guess this is just basically a slasher film, and from the trailer, you think that there's this killer dressed as a clown going around snatching fools up. To tell the story, I feel like just immediately you have to spoil it. So the story is about this small Midwestern town.
Kettle Springs, I believe in Missouri.
Where every year on Founders Day, and Founders Day for them means that they're known for their corn syrup, like Bay's corn syrup.
Poison.
And the symbol of that particular product is this clown,
this
Frendo.
Generic looking clown.
So every year on Founders Day, there's a celebration, and we find out, and this is the spoiler, that many people in the town, every year on Founders Day, not unlike The Purge, they kill undesirables. So whether it's like badass teenagers or hobos, as we see in one news article, that's kind of how they keep their little town cleansed and purified.
Their antiquated nomenclature.
So that's what it is. The film opens in 1991, and we see some teenagers get killed, and then we flash forward to present day, and the story focuses on a young lady named Quinn,
played by Katie Douglas,
who is high school aged, and she has recently moved to this town with her dad,
Aaron Abrams, from the series Hannibal,
from Philadelphia. So they're big city people moving to the small town. Why did they move? Because Quinn's mom recently died from a drug overdose. And apparently the dad felt like he couldn't save her. Basically, they're running away from the tragedy. So now they're in the small town, and he's working as like the town doctor. Day one, when they arrive and she starts school, she immediately makes a group of friends. And these happen to be like the bad teenagers.
The rabble-rousers.
However, the main kid is this kid named Cole.
Played by Carson MacCormac from the Shazam films.
And he's the son of like the rich family. And that family is like the descendants of the person who started the corn syrup company.
Yeah, his dad's played by Kevin Durand, who you've seen in many things.
And Cole, of his little raggedy group of friends, they don't seem that awful. They just seem like annoying teenagers.
I mean, they're working on something creative. They have a YouTube channel with 65K subscribers.
That's right. They have a YouTube channel where they basically they stage like fake murders involving Frendo the clown.
Although we need to get back to that because it's a small community and I feel like everybody knows what these raggedy kids are doing. So how they can stage anything, I don't know.
Yeah, we need to get back to how anything's happening in this small town and people don't realize it. But that's kind of all they're doing. And Cole, of his group of friends, seems like the nicest, most considerate one. But we find out that it's like the leaders of the community, including Cole's dad, who are all trying to kill him and his group of friends. So of course the big question is, why would Cole's dad want to kill him? It's because Cole had a sister, and apparently she died from like an alcohol related like Was it a DUI related death? And I guess the dad blames Cole for not making sure she wasn't out there like that.
We need to get back to why that feels like a tacked on excuse. Although this is based on a book by somebody named Adam Cesare. So,
Well, I can see a book working because, well, we'll get to it. But anyway, yeah, that's basically it. That a bunch of adults in this town, including the sheriff played by Will Sasso, like the town general store worker,
a teacher.
they are out here killing these teenagers who I guess they deem as undesirables. But of course, in the end, Quinn, her dad, and Cole, and this other boy named Rust, who we meet at the beginning of the movie.
Played by Vincent Muller.
He's the one who, like, on day one of school when Quinn is going for the first time, he knocks on her door first thing in the morning talking about, I want to walk you to school. And he's a very nice young man, and he's telling her, like, there's a group of kids here who you should probably stay away from. And immediately this girl becomes friends with them. And on day one, she gets detention. On day two, she gets arrested messing with these kids because there's an incident at the Founders Day parade where, like, I think a fire occurs. So, she can't leave well enough alone. But in the end, it's those four. Quinn, her dad, Cole, and Rust, who were able to take down all of the Frendo killers.
So it should be plural, clowns.
Clowns.
Cornfield.
And then we flash forward a little bit and see that she's going off to college. And then another gag, which we need to get back to, is that Cole happens to be gay and Rust
He's fighting it.
is also gay. And apparently, I mean, these are teenagers, but they make it seem like they had a tumultuous relationship at some point early on. So I don't know if they were in middle school.
Medallions.
But so they are estranged when the film starts, but in the end, they're back together. The end. Yeah, this movie reminded me of...
It reminded you of so many. Well, it's like the reversal of Children of the Corn or something like
Children of the Corn.
Who Can Kill a Child.
I also thought of the movie we reviewed, Founders Day,
Which
feels very much like this movie.
This is better than that.
And we reviewed a film called Dark Harvest.
Yes.
Which also feels... I mean, I like the idea behind Dark Harvest more.
Yeah, and I think that was also based on a YA novel. It just an odd feeling. I don't know who this film is for because it feels very much like a YA property still, but except it's rated R and really gory. It also reminded me of Eli Roth's Thanksgiving, of course.
Oh, that's right, Thanksgiving. And then, of course, like the Scream films where it's like...
And one of the composers of Thanksgiving also worked on this.
Oh. But my biggest issue is if it's a slasher, usually with these kind of films, I like to write down the kills. And I did that for this one. And there are over a dozen of them. And I would say maybe 4 are kind of interesting. The others are just very straightforward. So as a slasher film, it just feels very by the numbers. And then my bigger problem is that this story is about a community that is choosing to execute undesirables to keep their little town the way they want it. And we're even told by Quinn when she first arrives, like, this is such a weird place, it feels like it's stuck in the 90s. So clearly they're trying to maintain something.
Including the center parts on 2 of the young boys.
But it's like, okay, so then I feel like you could do so much with that. Like, I feel like we do get a reference to one of the homes of one of the adults who are doing the killings, that they have a room dedicated to like newspaper articles of all the deaths. And they were all just like, group of this gets killed, that gets killed. And the only thing I noticed was a group of hobos gets killed. But I feel like, were they too afraid to actually be like, oh, 3 years ago, the black family that moved in, they killed. And then, like there was a homeless problem or, some transient people moved in and we killed them. And then I thought, oh, it would have been really edgy to be like, maybe there's like a queer, like GSA type group at the school. And so they choose to exterminate
They
those
target
kids.
them.
Yeah, like make it more pointed. But in this instance, it feels so crazy. Like Cole seems like a good kid who's gay, but his dad's choosing to kill him because he blames him for the death of...
I think that's to avoid... It plays in a way that's like we're avoiding the dad seeming homophobic. Like he's mad at this kid for a different reason.
It just feels like to be a rated R, like gory slasher film, it seems so scared to say anything.
I agree, but it's interesting the choices that it does make, because, well, in this kind of scenario, you'd have to be rearing these children to be the kind of adults, the next generation. Otherwise, you're going to kill off all your kids. And also, when are they going to become aware of what's really going on Founders Day?
Right. So in the beginning in 1991, that means all the adults in present day who are doing the killings were the teenagers back then. Mm-hmm. So how did they get indoctrinated with this? And then are they indoctrinating their children? I don't know how, because they're killing them off. So this is not a big town.
But because everything is so kind of vague and ambiguous and haphazard with the story building here, it seems really odd that the first kill of the new generation set in the now is the black kid, and then of the trio of girls, the first girl they kill is the brown girl. It just feels they're all throwaway characters, but it just seems really odd that is the choice made with no clear intention.
I almost wish that they would have, well, again, just been more pointed, like maybe that black kid, the first one of the group of kids in present day to be killed. I wish it would have got more background, like, oh, maybe we hear an adult in the restaurant say that they thought that maybe he was involved in a break-in, or like, I wish they would have tied something to these kids to make it more obvious as to why they were targeted.
And well, it is that these set of filmmakers are blamed for the factory fire.
Oh, that's something I didn't mention. Yes, so the factory that's responsible for making the corn syrup has recently burned down, and this group of teenagers, like the bad group, are blamed for it. And that closure has also caused like a recession in the town, including someone's brother.
The teacher's brother.
A
detrimental socioeconomic ripple effect in the community, yes.
Yeah, when we first see Quinn go to school, she walks into this classroom and the teacher is on one. He is just like not being fair, which is also weird, because then it's like, well, the teenagers, in any other movie, you'd be like, oh, these teenagers are awful. But in this instance, it's like, well, this teacher is being very unreasonable, to the point where even someone like myself would have said, like, okay, hold on now. Like, you can't speak to us this way.
They are antagonizing him, though.
They are, but also he's being extra.
Yes.
And then we find out later, oh, his brother recently committed suicide because he lost his job at the factory. So then there's all that, like, oh, these kids are responsible for something so horrific. But then in the end, right before Cole's dad gets killed, he admits to basically he burned down the factory himself to collect the insurance money. Mm-hmm. So then it's really strange. Like, so why, like, this is just so sinister when you think about it on a very basic level. Like, these adults are killing their own children. Mm-hmm. Why? Like, why? When you bore witness to the same wave when you were the same age. And how are you going to keep, if this tradition is happening every year, how are you going to keep it going if you keep killing?
Again, there has to be some kind of rhyme or reason, kind of like Dark Harvest, where it's maybe we draw, there are nominees for people, the candidates who could be killed on this Founders Day, and these people are the biggest nuisance in the community, so let's get rid of them.
Yeah, the mechanism for Dark Harvest made more sense to me, which is also based on a YA book, right?
Yeah, I believe so. But, or there has to be some kind of rehabilitation effort made, because again, you're a small town that you want people to stay in, presumably, so you don't want to kill the best and brightest. I don't know.
We don't even get a scene where we see all of I almost feel like the reveal of the group of adults being the killer's friend, because we know that there are multiple killers, because there's one like scene past the halfway point where all the teenagers, the bad ones, all the teenagers are at this barn party, and we see one Frendo come out, and then all of a sudden like 10 other Frendos come out, and then all of the Frendos try to kill the teenagers. And they seem like indiscriminate. Like, they're not just going after...
They're just killing all these kids, yeah.
These are your children.
And oh God, and that generic score, there's nothing tense. These kids hole up in this barn that has a steel door, but all the sides of it are wood that they chop through. Somebody has a chainsaw.
Let me get through these kills. So in the opening in 1991, we see 2 teenagers get killed, and it's just very like, one gets stabbed and it's from a distance, and the other one we just know is killed. Mm-hmm. Then in present day, like you said, the first kid to get killed is the black guy from the group, and we just see him just very simply get stabbed.
Tucker.
Then there's like the hunky kid who gets stabbed while he's lifting weights. That was very basic.
Lifting them incorrectly as well. He's going to hurt his lower back doing that.
Yeah, he didn't have good posture doing that. Then there are some rando girls in the cornfield who get shot with a bow and arrow. Then the character with the middle part, he gets decapitated, but we don't see it. We just see his head having been decapitated. Another kid gets shot with a bow. Up to this point, none of those kills were that interesting to me. Then we see one of the Frendos get shot by Rust. Again, very simple. Probably the most interesting kill is not until the black teenage girl in the group, she gets gutted with a chainsaw.
Ronnie.
Then
poor Janet.
Then there's like the mean girl of the group, this blonde, and she gets stabbed by a pitchfork, which I thought was funny because she gets stabbed with a pitchfork and then she's asking Quinn, like, is it bad? And Quinn goes, it's really bad, girl.
That was kind of the only funny
That was the only
moment.
funny moment to me. And then they use that same pitchfork to kill another friendo. Then one of the friendos gets his hand shot off. So he gets taken to the doctor's office. And they force the doctor to...
Quinn's dad.
Quinn's dad to save him.
They're like, we have your daughter hostage. Don't take his mask off. Operate on him. Save him.
And so the doctor stabs one of the friendos in the neck, killing him. Then we see a friendo get impaled by a pipe.
By orchestrating cardiac arrest, he tricks the clown.
I guess the big kill would be Will Sasso. And Quinn kills him using a cattle prod, like one of those electric cattle prods. She shoves it down his throat. And then throughout the film, I think twice he had called her sweetheart. So after she kills him, she says, I'm not your sweetheart. And then the final kill is Cole's dad, who has his son hanging by a noose. Like he's fully prepared to watch his son be hung to death. But of course, Cole's able to get out of it. And then earlier in the film, we saw that Quinn doesn't know how to drive a manual transmission. And so when she gets into a car, she can't do it. But in the end, for some reason, the four remaining characters, Cole, Rust, her dad, and Quinn, hop into this Volkswagen Bug. And it's a stick shift, obviously. And she can't drive it. And instead of her dad quickly hopping out and saying, move, bitch, let me drive, he teaches her how to drive a stick shift while they're actively being pursued by someone with a weapon, which is Cole's dad.
They run over a friendo who splats like they're...
That's Cole's dad.
Oh, yeah, like a bug. Like
Which looked crazy.
He disintegrates. I don't understand why that did that, but...
So yeah, those are all the kills, and I don't know, they weren't that interesting. There's a tone to the film, like it feels like just a straight up slasher, but then Quinn has a little bit of sass to her, so...
Yeah, I don't mind that actor.
I actually liked her, but then it made the tone feel weird. Like, are we trying to make this funny? Because it's not really.
And then I can't help but think of Javier Bardem in No Country for Old Men with all these friendos going on. And then Cole, he was giving me like, if you mix Ryder Strong and I think it's Patrick Fugit from Almost
Yeah, he
Famous.
looked exactly like those two put together.
But so there's a makeout scene. Quinn is trying to seduce him, and he's flirting back with her actively. And they go into after this barn party. Again, at this barn party, she's already been in 2 skirmishes with him, and he's like, I promise you won't get in trouble here, even though we're trespassing on this property and there's underage drinking and smoking.
I already got detention. I was arrested. Now we're trespassing. And then, like you said, yeah, all these teenagers are smoking and drinking.
You are, well, I guess those are the choices a stupid teenager would make. Anyway, she pulls him to a private area to make out, and then he's like, okay, we take it more slow. And she goes, oh, like this? He's like, no, like, let's have another beer slow. And then she's mortified at being turned down by this man. And then, of course, it turns out that Rust is his ex-lover. But then, in retrospect, when we first meet Rust, who very valiantly walks her to school, says, don't hang out with these people, meaning Cole and his friends. That's because he has interest in his ex-lover.
Which I feel like that could have been used more effectively, to just give it more interest.
Yes.
I do want to... Those kids dancing at that barn party, I think you said it, but it was very much like go Charlotte, it's your birthday. Like, it was kind of whack. But I will say, there's a lot of music in this movie, and it's a little overwhelming. But every song, it's surprisingly, the quality of the music's surprisingly good. But because all of the songs sound like kind of like bootleg versions of popular songs.
Yeah, like it was like, oh, this sounds like bootleg Iggy Azalea. And what was the other one?
Or like bootleg Bruno Mars. It's very interesting because it's not bad. It's just like, oh, it's very deliberate that it sounds like music you actually know.
Which I guess this film altogether is kind of off the mark. But again, this got rave reviews out of South by Southwest. And it's like, even for people that love gory kills and slasher films, I don't see this appeasing that crowd. And then anybody who likes anything else about film, like narrative or characterization,
story,
like
gags,
that,
yeah.
I don't know.
You also said that the actor playing Russ looked like the kid with the stutter from Tu Wong Fu.
Certainly.
He really did.
The one that owns the consignment shop. Mm-hmm.
And in the end, when we flash forward a little bit and we see Quinn going off to what I presume is college, we also see that her dad is running for mayor of the town.
And there's this device, there's these pop-up boxes.
Like Jack in the Boxes?
That are marketing the
corn syrup?
The corn syrup. And she has one in the backseat of the car for some reason. And she throws it out on the side of the road. I'm like, oh, wait, guess what's going to happen? The clown's going to pop out of that. Oh, and it does. Like, there's just nothing interesting. Like, it's just so expected, all of it.
I guess if it's streaming and you like slasher movies, then you probably would watch this. It didn't give me anything. It's well made enough and the acting is fine. But yeah, there's just nothing.
Again, I've seen a lot worse, including a comparison piece that is called Founders Day. I think that's worse. But I don't know. I just feel like the components were there. I'm shocked that this is from the director of Tucker and Dale versus Evil, which I think was a comedy horror film that effectively balanced those things.
What would you give Clown in a Cornfield? 2. It's okay. I would give it 2.5 out of 5. Join us on Patreon and listen to our podcast. Bye.